Howdy folks, and welcome to another Taste of Gameplay video, this time for the Japanese Tier 4 premium cruiser, the Yubari. The Yubari is a fascinating cruiser. The defining characteristic of her, not to bury the lead, is she is a member of an elite group, which I believe consists of only 3 ships. The Yubari, the Katori, which I've already covered on this channel, you can go watch that video, and the Iwaki Alpha. The Iwaki Alpha is probably the only ship that you will never see on this channel, unless Wargaming someday decides to give me one temporarily to shoot a video on or something like that. Wargaming, if you're listening, that would be fun. But the Iwaki Alpha is special because it was only given to players who participated in the alpha of the game, which I did not. Anyway, these 3 ships have a unique upgrade in the first slot called Aiming Systems Modification 0. I don't know quite what the historical path was to get us to this situation. Not the historical path in real life, but the World of Warships historical path. But somehow we ended up in this situation where it's just these 3 low-tier Japanese ships that have this incredible modification, which gives them a 40% improvement in dispersion on a ship which already had incredibly good dispersion, which has the result of having these guns, as you see here, which can HE Citadel a Cordoba cruiser at 11 kilometers. I fired 4 shells. I hit all 4. I fired 4 shells. I hit all 4. Now, of course, you have to be good at aiming. You have to understand the arcs. You have to practice a little bit. But with some practice in the Yubari, you can hit every single shell you fire. So suddenly the fact that you only fire 4 shells doesn't feel like such a big deal. Now, for all that, I will say it's hard not to compare this ship to the Katori, and it sort of suffers from the comparison. And I don't really think that's necessarily the Yubari's fault. I just think there's actually a pretty big jump in power curve between Tier 3 and Tier 4, and the Yubari doesn't quite make it. And what I mean by that is, in the Katori, you pretty much can play by just sailing around at the back of the map and firing your guns over and over and over and over again. You can watch my Katori video. That's exactly what I do. You will hit every single shell every single time. You will do 120,000 damage. You will win every single game. That basic plan doesn't really work in the Yubari, and there's a couple reasons for that, which is not to say the Yubari is not a good ship. It's a very good ship, but it's not quite as OP as the Katori, and I think there's 2 main reasons for that. One is ship's ability to return fire on you at range is greatly increased. Like the dispersion of ships, the alpha damage of their shells is just way higher. So you absolutely will get deb struck or massively damaged in the Yubari, because the armor, like all Tier 4 cruisers, is basically paper thin. So that's one problem. But the other problem, which you're going to see here pretty soon, I think, is the pen is just not good enough at this tier. So battleships are kind of in this unique position at this tier where they have much better armor than the guns. That changes. Like by the time you get to Tier 10, armor is more of a suggestion. But at Tier 4, armor is a serious, like, historical fact. Like, there are ships in the Yubari which you can shoot HE at, and you just simply will do 0 damage, period, end of story, every single time, except for very small areas of the ship. You're going to see that later with the Yabus. I'm going to shoot over and over at this Yabus, and I just can't. I mean, I can hit him. I can hit every single shell. So what do you do in the Yubari? Well, the wiki, interestingly enough, I never read the wiki entry in the Yubari until today. It actually recommends that you play the Yubari like a big torpedo destroyer, like kind of like a, what's a good analogy? I don't know. I guess the Kitakami comes to mind, but basically you don't play it like a cruiser. You play it more like a big torpedo leader, destroyer leader. The Yubari does have really good concealment and really good speed, especially for the tier. I can't see that working out for the very simple reason that even though the Yubari has good concealment and maneuverability for a cruiser, it's really big compared to most destroyers. And this is the key part, the torpedoes only go 6 kilometers. They're good torpedoes, but they only go 6 kilometers. So I just can't see that working out. Having said that, we're going to have a fun battleship against me one-on-one duel later, where I'm going to hit him with some torpedoes, which is going to be fun to watch. But anyway, Can I say again? I know I'm a broken record. I love how there's so many players at these tiers these days. I just think that's so great. It's so much more fun, even though maybe my stats aren't as good. I will say about the Yubari that if you know what you're doing and you end up in a game full of bots, you can absolutely crush people. I've had some amazing games in the Yubari where I sunk like 10 ships because they were all bots. Bots that sail in a straight line, especially at distance, don't expect you to just like hit them over and over again with the shells, and they won't react. Like there's no code that says, oh, I'm taking a lot of damage, so let me do something different. They just keep sailing in a straight line and you just keep hitting them over and over again. Yeah. So again, the main problem here is the pen, right? Like you see here, it started. I fired 4 shells. I hit all 4. They were all shatters. The HE pen is 23 millimeters, which is actually not bad, right? But it's just that battleships have such strong armor at this tier. They just shrug that off. And so then you end up having to either try to set fires, which the ship is not particularly great at, or you try to fire the AP, but the AP is also just not that good. It's just not that high caliber. It doesn't have enough pen to get through these battleships. The game changes with the Katori to some extent, but with the Yubari in particular, there's an almost unique play style for the Yubari. I assume also for the Iwaki Alpha, but I don't know much about that ship because I've never played it. But in the Yubari, you wind up almost playing this like mini game that reminds me of the old days, like at the arcade, where you would have a boss that was largely invulnerable, except it had tiny spots that you could hit, like, an eye that you could do damage to. You end up having to use this incredible dispersion to actually target specific parts of the enemy ship. And I don't just mean like the superstructure, but I mean like I'm going to hit the conning tower, literally. So I think it's the only ship in the game that can reliably do that. I mean, even one of my faves, the Tiger 59, which has excellent dispersion, you still can't like target the conning tower. But in the Yubari, you actually kind of can. Like you can hit very specific parts of the enemy ship. But the thing is, it's really hard, and they have to not maneuver basically at all. I mean, if they maneuver at all, they throw off your aim. I mean, that's the thing is, no matter how good dispersion is, the enemy has a vote, right, in this game, because they're not railguns. They take time to get there, and so they can actually just dodge your shells, literally. Of course, that means they have to be paying attention, et cetera, et cetera. But you see here, I'm trying to fire AP. It's just shattering, right? But the HE, I guarantee you, would also shatter. So it's like, what the heck do I do, right? What do I do with this guy? The answer is twofold. One is aim at very specific parts of the ship, right? Like I'm trying to aim at his bow. I missed there. I mean, I hit his ship. That's the thing. Like missing takes on a different dimension here. Okay, can I pen? Yeah. So see, I can pen his bow, right? So I just gotta like specifically hit a very narrow area of space. So then I'm like, okay, well, let's turn to the torpedoes, right? Let's see if we can get some torpedoes. The torpedoes do pretty good damage. I think it might even be 14,000, like, which is really good. Yeah. So I can pen his stern. 2 torpedo hits. Okay, we're up to 60k damage. I mean, that's not bad. I would say I won that duel. I didn't sink him, but he didn't sink me, and I did some pretty good damage. So yeah, I mean, should you get the Yubari? Absolutely, you should get the Yubari. I mean, it's the essence of what premium should be. It brings a completely unique playstyle. I don't think it's overpowered. I do kind of think the Katori is overpowered, but I don't think the Yubari is overpowered. It does not have the tools for a lot of different situations. It cannot take any return fire. It doesn't have any smoke. It doesn't have any hydro. It's actually a little clumsy. It's fast, but it's not particularly good at turning. So is it a good ship? Yes, it's absolutely a good ship. Can you have some amazing games, especially against bots? Absolutely. Does it reward practice and higher skill? Yeah, it does. I mean, if nothing else, it's a good ship to pick up if you just want to train your aim, because boy, I mean, like you will see exactly how your aim is in this ship. Like there's no RNG, there's no dispersion to ruin your aim or save the day. Like wherever you aim the shells, that's where they're going to go, which is just a good training tool, if nothing else. And I don't think the Yubari is very expensive. So yeah, okay torpedoes, good speed, amazing aiming and dispersion, kind of okay-ish guns that are situational. Like against destroyers and even against lighter cruisers, this thing wrecks. I mean, destroyers in particular, if they're not paying attention, you know, because the alpha on the HE shells is pretty high for tier 4. I think it's 2600. So if you hit all 4 shells on a destroyer, which is totally doable, you can like half health them in one salvo. And that's feasible in the Yubari just because, you know, the dispersion is so good. So right here, I'm trying to literally hit the very top of his superstructure. I'm trying to aim over the top of the rear guns so I don't hit them, and then plunging fire down into his superstructure. And I did it. I have a lot of practice in the Yubari, so, you know, I know how to do this. But yeah, so it's a good ship, can be a frustrating ship, not nearly as OP as the Katori, but definitely a unique experience and worth picking up. This is a pretty good example of how most games are going to go. Yeah, so a fun ship and worth having. I will see you guys in the next one.